Welcome to First Possession on Cryout TV. I'm your host, John, and I'm here with my partner,
David.
David. A lot of sports has been happening as of lately. We got a lot of things to get into. We're back with another episode here today. And first of all, we're going to start with our first segment of the day, and that's Harsh Truth with David. Lead us into it, David. What is your harsh truth of the day?
So yesterday, Bradley Beal had a career day. He went out there and dropped 60 points. Incredible performance. One of the best performance. Actually, it is the best performance of his career. He's really solidified himself, in my opinion, as like a star in this NBA. He wasn't an all-star last year. I don't agree with that.
Robbed.
Yeah, he did get robbed, especially considering that Trae Young was a starter.
Yeah, he got robbed.
That was ridiculous. But he's an all-star caliber player, all-NBA caliber player. And I've been seeing a lot of this free Bradley Beal because the Wizards currently they're, I believe, 2-5 or 2-6. 2-6 right now. They're just pathetic. They can't defend anybody. They put up hella points, but they give up just as many, if not more. Obviously, that's why they're below 500. But I think people need to understand that Beal is not alone. He's not by himself on this team. You know, he has Russell Westbrook, who is not having the best season. We all know that. But he's still giving you 12 assists, 11 rebounds. He's averaging a triple-double, which I think is overrated, but it's still a contribution that's valuable for that team, especially offensively. But not only do they have the Russ, they have Denny Avila, who's a rookie. He's had some solid games. Also, Davis Bertans, who, though he isn't shooting the best right now, he's still somebody that can provide spacing. You know, teams are not going to just leave him open. They have to cover for him. They also have some other solid players, Ish Smith off the bench, and some other quality players. Thomas Bryant provides some spacing, even though his defense sucks too. Like, they all can't defend.
And nobody defends on that team.
Yeah, nobody can defend. The issue is when people are sitting here saying free Bradley Beal, they don't understand that their offense is great. They're one of the best offenses in the NBA. They're top 5 in points per game, top 10 in offensive rating. The issue is on the defensive side of the ball. And Beal contributes to that just as much as all of them. So for people to act like Beal is absolved from the team's issues is absurd to me, because offensively, that's not where the problems lie. And some of the offensive players aren't even playing that great right now. So it all comes down to defense, and they can't stop anybody. And people need to start, I'm not saying blame Beal, but they need to hold him accountable just as much as they hold all the other people accountable, because he's not playing great on the defensive side of the ball. He's actually even been a liability. Let me not say liability. Liability is a bit of a stretch because they all can't play D. And when you all can't play D, it's tough to be motivated because defense is like 85% effort, 15% skill. That's how I look at it, you know, because you got guys like Steph Curry who can play great off-ball defense. It's not because of his skills, it's because of his effort. And he actually puts forth willingly to play defense on that side of the ball. Like, for example, James Harden. James Harden was playing it's true, bro. James was playing no D in the beginning of his career,
I'll give you that.
No type of defense until, Chris Paul came on the team and was like, hey, yo, we got to start playing D. I'm going to motivate you to start playing defense. And Harden has become actually like a competent on-ball defender. In the case of Beal, I understand the offensive load that he has, but it's not just him now. He has Russell Westbrook, so he can put more effort into defense. There's no reason that Denny Avila should be the best defender. There's no reason for that. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, Bradley Beal, there are other parts of the team that could be better to help suit him, but you can't just absolve Beal. He deserves part of the blame just as much. He's just as culpable as all these other guys, because it's not just a one-guy thing. It's not just all on Thomas Bryant. I know he's getting all the blame for how bad they are on defense because of his lack of rim protection and being just a target for Joel Embiid every time they've played them so far this season. But you can't absolve Beal from the failures of this Wizards team, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly agree with you. Bradley Beal is not off the books. Yeah, a lot of people want to blame Russell Westbrook for like the early Wizards struggle and all that, but Bradley Beal's talent and scoring has never been in question. We've always known him to be a really impressive player. He knows how to score the ball, but like you said, their defense is just absolutely pathetic.
Yeah.
They can't defend literally anybody, but also you've got to look at who's he playing with? Who's his second star, and what is that star doing? Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook hasn't started the season great. He's had his struggles here and there, but when you let Bradley Beal just go to work and let him cook, I think they have a better chance of winning that. When Russell Westbrook is handling the ball more, bro. I think it comes down to, can they stop somebody? Can they stop anybody? When it comes down to locking down your defender and playing good defensive basketball, can they lock down anybody? And so far, the answer has been no. So I think it comes down to, because we had high expectations coming from the Wizards into the season. We seen them. You pick up Russell Westbrook, who's just coming off an All-Star season. We thought they could probably be the 7th, 8th seed or something like that. We don't think this team is a 30-win team. This team is a playoff team. So it's about time they get their act together, start figuring things out. And Scott Brooks is on the hot seat as far as I'm concerned, because he's not doing anything with this squad. You've got Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal. You've got some exciting young players, Rui Hachimura, Thomas Bryant. You've got one of the best shooters in the NBA, David Bertans. You need to know how to fit all those pieces together and put those pieces together in order to play winning basketball. Your offense cannot just be give the ball to Bradley Beal and we'll go from there. No, you got to run some plays. You got to be able to gather the troops and play defense in the NBA, because it's 2020. If you don't play defense in the NBA, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose a lot of games because you can't just score. So it comes down to, can Scott Brooks, call the right plays? Can he gather the troops together, and can they play winning basketball? Because the talent is obvious. It's looking at the talent on paper, it's very obvious that they have talent. You've got Russell Westbrook, you've got Bradley Beal, you've got a lot of young players that can play, and it just comes down to, can all those pieces fit together, and can they play winning basketball?
Yeah, because playing great team defense is not hard. It's not. When you show effort and you actually have good defensive rotations, you can play good team defense. You may not be great in one-on-one situations, because one-on-one situations, they're more than likely going to get cooked regardless. A lot of these guys are just not good on defense. Russell Westbrook, IQ-wise, just terrible.
There's so many skilled guys in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
There's too many.
Bradley Beal, not a great defender. Davis Bertans, not a great defender. And they struggle with rebounding also. That's a huge crutch for them. But effort is not too much to ask for. Defensive rotations are not too much to ask for. Scott Brooks has to be able to coach them up to be a little bit more mature in some situations too. I see Thomas Bryant jumping up when he shouldn't be jumping. I see him not contesting shots that he should be contesting, fouling when he shouldn't be fouling. This guy is pathetic on defense. He is atrociously bad. I honestly believe he might be the worst starting center when it comes to defense right now.
He's not the tallest of guys. He's not the longest of guys. He's just a big body he's like Montrezl Harrell.
Remember when Stephen A. used to get on Kwame Brown? It was like, he has small hands. He can't catch the ball. He has feet. He has bad footwork, even though he's mobile. Doesn't have a post move that he puts to memory. All of those critiques apply to Thomas Bryant.
But he's still a very young player, so I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, man, there is no benefit of the doubt, man. You're in your third year in the league, and you can't move your feet on a pick and roll. You can't, not even that, because pick and rolls, sure, you can say a lot of big men struggle with pick and rolls. Yeah. But, dude, even in one-on-one post-ups, the guy just can't contest shots. He's just terrible. He has no type of IQ. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, they always put him in two-on-one situations. That's what the defense does. There's a reason that they keep putting him on two-on-one situations, because they know he can't deal with it. He can't adjust. And Scott Brooks, how many times have they blown leads in the fourth quarter this year? You got to be able to make adjustments. And there are times when, for example, the Magic game, they were up, I believe, 14 in the fourth quarter, and he took the starters out the game when the bench of the other team was on the court. Michael Carter-Williams should not be giving you buckets to lead into their comeback in the fourth quarter. That's unacceptable. So as far as I'm concerned, Scott Brooks, he has to be able to make adjustments. They have to be able to play better team defense. They have to show effort on that side of the ball more. And if they don't, all this free Bradley Beal nonsense, you can't be saying that when he's just a part of the problem as everybody else. That's just my personal opinion.
I think the Wizards, they're not trading him because he just signed, was it a max or supermax contract? He just signed that supermax contract. So if he wanted to be in a better situation, if he wanted to go play winning basketball, I think he would have left because the Wizards, they had no plan. John Wall was coming off an injury that he's been out for 2 years. So you weren't going to compete in the East. So they went and got that trade and got Russell Westbrook, and now you have another star that you can play with. And there's just no way they're trading that contract away. I don't think anybody's – well, the talent, you might say, okay, yeah. You would say, okay, I'll trade for Bradley Beal because he's just that good, and you take that contract on your books. But I don't think the Wizards are going to just let him walk just like that.
Yeah, they can't.
Yep. Staying in the East, Lamelo Ball, the number 3 pick, he started the season a little bit, good, some bad, but, he's been playing really good recently, and a lot of people are calling for him to start above Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier, one or the other, because he has played some exciting basketball. But right now, I'll bring the question to the table. Should LaMelo Ball be replaced for one of those starters and be put in the starting lineup?
I think so, man, because, when you look at the people above him, Terry Rozier is playing fine. I have no issue with Terry Rozier. And by the way, because I've been seeing a lot of memes on Twitter of people saying no matter what anybody else does on the team, we're always going to talk about LaMelo. And that's true. That's how it is. LaMelo is the guy. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. He's made Charlotte somewhat relevant. It's not just him. Gordon Hayward is also there. And shout out to Gordon Hayward. He looks like he's back to his Utah self. And I thought that last year, because last year he didn't really get a chance to show what he could fully do because he was in some nights the 4th option. Yeah. So he couldn't really show that. And even in some nights, maybe even the 5th, because Marcus Smart can have his days. Exactly. So he wasn't really able to always show what he could do. But right now, he's averaging 22 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds on 49, 36, 90 shooting splits. He is definitely doing his thing and deserves a lot of credit. Terry Rozier, he's had some great games and great performances. As we all know, he's averaging 21 points per game. But Devontae Graham, my God, he is awful. When I talk about shot chuckers, Devontae Graham fits that description. He goes out there and acts like he's playing in rec basketball. You know how you got those guys at the rec that think they're Kobe?
But that's how he played last season.
Okay, and guess what? He shot terrible last season too.
But he put up numbers, huge numbers.
He improved. Okay, huge, that's a stretch. He improved, and it was a huge leap statistically. He had a great start to the season, but he finished the season terribly. I would say the last 25, 30 games, he shot inefficiently, and he's picking up right where he left off. He's averaging 10 points. He's averaging 6 assists. He's a good playmaker also. I'll give him that. But he's averaging 10 points. He's shooting 25% from the field. 25%. He's entered Draymond Green territories right now. He's also shooting 31% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. So he's just out there shot chucking. And I'm not even saying this based on the numbers. If you just go and watch the games, he takes bad shots all the time. Meanwhile, you want to know what LaMelo Ball is doing? LaMelo Ball is averaging 12 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds on 41% from the field, which isn't great, but he's a rookie. Take that into consideration. And he's also shooting 36% from 3 on around 4 to 5 attempts per contest and 74% at the free throw line. Right now, he looks really good off the bench. He has a lot of chemistry with Miles Bridges. Maybe that's why they don't want to bring him into the starting lineup, because he's built a lot of chemistry with him. I have to give him, especially in the pick and roll, because we all know how athletic and explosive Miles Bridges is. But if you throw him in that starting lineup, Terry Rozier can be a legit off guard. He's been that this season. Gordon Hayward is a good off-ball player. He would mix so well with those guys. He'd even make Biyombo better, because Biyombo, he's what he is. But regardless, I just think that it's about time to start this guy. And Gordon Hayward, he's doing really good as the leader of this team. But if you throw LaMelo in that lineup, he can make Hayward better. He can make Rozier better. He can make all those guys better, because we all know how great he is as a playmaker. That family, they just great IQ. I got to give it to him and his brother Lonzo. Just amazing IQ. And he can even be a better passer than Lonzo, in my opinion.
I don't think it's time to start LaMelo Ball. And why do I say that? It's just about 8 games in. Yes, Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier's spot is solidified. You're not taking his spot because he's a scorer. He can play a little bit of defense and he can create. So you're not taking Terry Rozier's spot. So now the question comes down to Devontae Graham or LaMelo Ball. And I think LaMelo Ball, if you look at the numbers, 12 points per game, 5 assists, but he's averaging about 3 turnovers a game too. So that's about two assist turnover ratio. That's not really good. And look at Devontae Graham numbers. He started the season slow with just 10 points a game, but he's averaging 6 assists a game with just over 1 turnover a game. That's very impressive, and he creates for the teammates. You don't need scoring in the starting lineup because you got Gordon Hayward, you got Terry Rozier, and I think putting Devontae Graham there, he has a lot more IQ. That yes, Lamelo Ball has a lot of
Not
IQ,
a shot IQ.
Not shot IQ, but like creativity and like feel for the NBA. If you think about it, Lamelo hasn't really played a lot of team basketball in the last year or so. Yes, he got out of high school. He didn't go to college, but he went overseas. But that's not really NBA basketball. And I think Devontae Graham, he's been in the NBA for about 2 years. He knows the game. He's filled the game. Last year, he had a great season. He put up some amazing numbers, a lot more improved. I think he should have won Most Improved Player, but that's another conversation for another day. And I think, LaMelo being on the bench, he gives him some opportunities to look at Devontae, look at Terry Rozier, look at how they play, improve as a player, both physically and mentally. Because coming out of college or high school, overseas, or wherever you're at, coming out of them, just putting him straight into NBA basketball, he doesn't fully understand the game as Devontae or Terry Rozier does. And, as you can see, if you watch him sometimes, he plays careless basketball. So he needs to sit sometimes and just learn the game and learn how to play winning basketball. And he gets very loose with the ball. Like you see, he's averaging almost 3 turnovers per game. That's not really good when your assist numbers aren't really that high also. So I think he needs to sit for a while. Maybe give it about...
that'll go up if he's starting, though.
Maybe give it about... Exactly. Maybe give it about, 30 more games or 20 more games.
30?
About 20 to 30. It's just 8 games in.
They could potentially make the playoffs, or at least the play-in. I'll say the play-in. The play-in is not impossible.
We don't really
for
think
them.
they can make the playoffs.
Okay, I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs.
Exactly.
But a play-in spot is not as far-fetched as a lot of people.
It's not a far, but I feel like Devontae is more. He has more experience than LaMelo Ball, and
Yeah,
just
of course
throwing LaMelo right into the fight. Well, he's experienced, but he's not Devontae experienced. Devontae has been through a lot. He went to Kansas for about a couple of years. He's been in the NBA for about 2 or 3 years now, so he understands NBA basketball. He understands the game. I think LaMelo is still playing dilly sometimes. He still plays loose.
I mean, tough
He still
luck,
plays
yo.
careless sometimes.
Get
but
that dude out of here.
Yeah, everybody wants to see LaMelo Ball. Granted, he's exciting to watch. Don't get me wrong. LaMelo, he plays fun basketball. But, just throwing him in there. Charlotte, they're trying to make the playoffs right now. It's not the time to start a rookie or try things out with LaMelo Ball. No, it's time to play winning basketball.
He was the 3rd pick of the draft.
Agreed, but he's got players in front of him. It's not like he's going and the starting lineup is Michael Carter-Williams or Dante Exum. No,
Dude, he's got Devontae
He's got
Graham.
Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham, who are solid pieces in the NBA. Who are legit players in the NBA as of today. Devontae's averaging almost 7 assists a game with just under 1
he's
turnover.
shooting like 25% from the field.
When you create that much, sometimes the shooting doesn't really matter. Look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons shoots awfully,
chill.
but his creativity and the other things he brings to the game sometimes matter. Sometimes it's not just about shooting or how bad you're shooting. Like, what else do you bring to the team? And Devontae brings
do you think Devontae is a better play? Do you think Devontae is going to be a better playmaker than LaMelo?
I like LaMelo's passing, but I question the carelessness sometimes. The lackadaisical character that he brings to the game sometimes. So
now, if you had said defense, I understand because
he's an awful defender. He doesn't play defense. He rarely tries, anyways. But not that Devontae is a much better defender than him, but Devontae has experience, which I think is key. And there's certain rookies you don't just throw into the fire, and I think LaMelo is one of them. He needs to sit for a while and learn the game and learn how to play winning basketball.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, bro, when your shooting percentages are looking like Draymond Green, and you're a guard, that's unacceptable. And I just feel like
LaMelo isn't shooting the ball like as great as we expect a guard to shoot the ball. He's shooting the ball about 39%. That's not good.
No, he's shooting around 41. That's not bad.
41. Come on.
His 3-point percentage is also good. People question his shot coming into the league, and so far it looks decent. The motion is weird, but if you can make it work, you make it work. Look at Tyrese Halliburton, the rookie on the Sacramento Kings. This guy's shooting 50% from 3, and his shot looks disgusting.
Yep.
Sometimes if you make it work, you make it work. Sean Marion taught us that, yo.
Yeah, some names like Kenyon Martin and some of these guys. But anyways, guys, moving on to the west side of the NBA. The Phoenix Suns, they have the #1 record right now in the West, sitting at 6-2. They've started pretty great. They've beat some amazing teams, playoff teams, contenders actually. They traded, or rather, they signed Chris Paul. They brought in Jay Crowder, and they added some players, and they're looking like a legit team right now. So do you think they're one of the contenders in the West, and can they be a legit team in the playoffs?
When it comes to them, I think they're a good team, and I think they're going to have a really great season. But a contender in the West, I don't believe so.
Wow.
I don't believe they're a contender because experience. You got to have that experience. Currently, right now, they're first in opponents' points per game. They're also 10th in defensive rating. They're middle of the pack in points per game. I'll say that they're around 19th. That's kind of the bottom half. Honestly, close to like the bottom 10. But they are 5th in offensive rating, so they're rather efficient also. Chris Paul statistically isn't having the greatest year, obviously, but his impact, you could just see it on the court. Yeah. I don't have to go in depth on that. Devin Booker, he's had somewhat of a slow start compared to other seasons, but I still think he's having a really solid year. Mikal Bridges has taken a huge leap in his game. He's shown a lot of potential to be even more than just a Rocco type that people thought coming into the NBA. He's shown more progression as a ball handler also. Shout out to him. And on the defensive end, he's playing well also. I'm a little disappointed in DeAndre Ayton. I'll talk about him a little bit later. But overall, the team just looks way better. And I think a lot of people look at that Oklahoma City Thunder team, and sometimes they see the pieces like Gallo, Shea, CP3, Steven Adams, Schroeder, and they're like, oh, that team was good anyway. But Chris Paul brought like this impact that defensively, he's a great communicator. He's not the on-ball defender he used to be, but communication is very key. You can see it with guys like him. Draymond Green is another great communicator on defense, and you can see the impact there. And also, when you just look at his impact as a playmaker, he can make so many different plays for different players on that team. And I think that when you substitute Ricky Rubio, Rubio's not bad. He's not a bad player. He's a good player.
He's improved.
Great playmaker. And is a really good defender.
But he's not Chris Paul.
But he's not CP3. He's not someone the defense can respect in terms of his ability to score the ball and put it in the hoop. Even though Chris Paul, I do think his offensive game, at least as of now, is kind of boosted when it comes to his scoring because he can get to his spots, but he can't really create on elite defenders. He really tries to get those mismatches on bigs and stuff. That's what he likes to do. He likes to dance on Rudy Gobert and guys like that. But regardless, he's a legit guy. He's definitely impacted this team for the better, but the reason I just don't see them as contenders is because experience matters a lot. It's almost like when the Nuggets burst on the scene for the first time. Even though they were good, we didn't know how good they were because they just didn't have that experience, and it's hard to put faith in a team that doesn't have a resume yet. And that's why I look at the Phoenix Suns, and I can't say they're contenders. Even if they finish on the same pace that they are right now, I can't say they're contenders yet.
Oh, I certainly think they're contenders, and I think they're a legit team right now in the West, and they need to be one of the teams to look out for in the playoffs because when I look at the Phoenix Suns, I say, okay, who's going to be with the ball at all times? Chris Paul, Devin Booker, one of the best playmakers ever or one of the best young talents and best scorers in the game as of now. Chris Paul brings a certain it's like everywhere he goes, he brings something. Leadership, he brings assists, he brings intangibles that you can't really coach. And with this Phoenix team, which I think they're very young, and you bring a old head, like you want to say Chris Paul, he's old. I mean, but he's still playing at a very high level. And you bring Chris Paul into the Phoenix Suns, you make him like Devin Booker's mentor. And then the Jay Crowder pickup, I think, is very underrated because that's another big body that you can bring in. And not that he's just a big body. He can make shots. He can make 3-pointers. He's
a little inconsistent though.
But he can hit them.
He can hit. He's hot. He's hot.
Yeah, he's not a Draymond Green. No, he can hit shots. He's showing about 36% from the three. That's pretty good. That's not bad. And he can defend. He can defend about 3 spots on the defensive side of the ball. He can defend.
He can even defend some fours.
Yeah, he can defend some 3s, some 4s, and some 2s on some good days. And you bring Jay Crowder in, you slot him in there. And then DeAndre Ayton, yes, he hasn't been to a great start, but you expect him to come along eventually. He will come along. He will come along eventually. DeAndre Ayton, you come along, and I feel like as the season progresses, the Phoenix Suns, they're gonna put all the pieces together. First of all, we need to give Monty Williams a lot of credit because he's been doing a hell of a job with the Phoenix Suns. And I think the addition of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, like you mentioned, Mikal Bridges, he's another young star that they have. And he can hit shots, he can defend. He's a very long player. And you add all those pieces together, and they've got Saric on the bench who can also hit shots, a 3-and-D guy. I think they've got a lot of solid pieces that fit well together. And obviously the head on that is Chris Paul. And I feel like Chris Paul, he's one right now in the modern game. I think Chris Paul is the best point guard in a modern game. Yeah, Magic is the old head.
I don't know about that.
Okay,
Over
not
Steph Curry.
Not now, but I'm talking about like in the last 10 to 15 years.
Steph Curry.
Chris Paul is the best pure point guard.
Don't give me that pure point guard garbage, yo.
Point
I don't want
guard
to hear
in
that
the NBA.
shit.
Chris Paul, I think in the last 15 years, you won't find many better than Chris Paul because he really turns the ball over and he's just creativity.
What
he
does
makes
that
the right
mean,
passes.
yo? What
he
does
makes
that
the right
mean?
plays. What does what mean?
Pure point guard. What is that supposed to mean?
Okay, Steph Curry is just a smaller two guard.
Dude, come on, man.
Okay,
I don't want to hear that, yo.
Pure
Point guards have always been able to score, dude.
You think about the Chris Pauls and some other players.
John Stockton.
Exactly.
Steve
Magic
Nash.
Johnson.
Man, I don't want to hear that shit, yo.
First players. They're
There
pass
have
first
always
players.
been
That's
scoring
pure-
guards,
that's
yo.
pure-
Chill. There have
that's
always been
pure
scoring point guards.
First point guards. And you think about the Steph Currys, the Damian Lillard, the Russell Westbrook. Those are just smaller two guards because they just score the ball. They don't really create. We
Don't hear what this guy's saying. This guy's living in the 80s,
when you
yo.
think about creativity and always making the right plays and always making the right passes, Chris Paul is number one. There's none other than Chris Paul that comes
Guy's
to that
on
list.
crack, yo.
So when you hear Chris Paul, when you look at Chris Paul and you look at Devin Booker, a young star who he can take some of the load off of Chris Paul. Yeah,
you got to be on crack to think that Chris Paul is the best point guard since Magic
in the
Johnson.
modern era, Chris Paul has been the best point guard, the best pure point guard in the modern era.
Nobody cares about that, yo. That
He
shit doesn't
he
win
always-
championships. Name me the point. There's only been one. I don't know if a lot of people know this. There's only been one guy to average 10 points, 10 assists in the regular season and playoffs and win a championship. You don't know who it is?
Who?
Magic Johnson. And you want to know why he was able to do that? Because he was 6'9". He was an anomaly.
Okay.
You can't carry that kind of load on offense and win a championship.
But
It's
like I
just
said,
not
if you
possible.
look at
there's
what-
a reason. I'm going to interrupt you. But there's a reason why Chris Paul wanted to play with James Harden because he didn't want to have that kind of load on him anymore.
When you're that good of a passer, you need a scorer to play alongside you.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Magic had
Excuses.
Kareem, who is arguably one of the greatest scorers ever. When you're that good of a point guard and that pure of a point guard, you need somebody else who can score the ball. Why was James Harden and Chris Paul so effective? Yes, they didn't win a championship, but they gave the Warriors a run for their money. They were pretty effective because you've got a ball handler and a creative passer in Chris Paul. And then you've got the scorer in James Harden, who I think is somewhat similar to the Phoenix Suns. You've got Chris Paul, who's still playing at a very elite level. And then you've got Devin Booker, the scorer. And let's hope DeAndre Ayton comes along. And, he can add a couple of points of rebounds
It could be a big three.
They could be a big three.
They
And then you
should
add
be.
Mikal Bridges, who's a solid 15 points per game. And then you add Jay Crowder, who's also a big body that you can throw at certain defenders. And I think this team is a team to be reckoned with in the West because I think they're going to make some noise in the West. They're going to make a lot of noise. Yeah, okay, the Lakers, not many people can cause the Lakers problems, but they can give Denver a run for their money. They can give the Rockets a run for their money. Portland, they
Who's
can give
guarding Jokic?
They can give Clippers. Okay, nobody can guard Jokic, let's be honest.
I mean,
but
Aiden's a good defender. I'll give him that.
he's a good defender, but
nobody's touching Jokic.
stop. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So when you look at all of that, you look at certain teams in the West, the Clippers, are they going to be the team we hope for them to be? Like last year, we've seen they can't flop. They can't be the Clippers. And I think the Phoenix Suns, except for the Lakers, they can compete with any team in the West.
Wow.
Yes.
Out of 8 games?
Yes, out of 8 games. Because Chris Paul, he's just that good. And Devin Booker now has his leader, has his passer, has his Hall of Famer. And then you surround him
Hall
with,
of Famer.
and then you surround him with a lot of pieces. It can be very
This
effective.
man said Hall of
It can be
Famer.
very
Get out of here. As
effective
if
in
he's
the
still
West.
competing at a Hall of Fame level, yo.
But he's competing at a very high level.
He is.
Exactly.
He is. I'll give it to
But
him.
anyways, right now we'll take a break. And when we come back, we will be talking about the Knicks. Yes, I said the Knicks. They're off to a good start. But we'll be talking about them and can they keep this up? And then we will talk some more NFL. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Back again with some more NBA and some more talk of sports. Right now, we're just going to dive straight into it. We're talking about the Knicks right now because they have been phenomenal to start the season.
Stretch.
They have looked good.
For them, that's pretty phenomenal, though. Yeah.
Right. They have looked good. So right now, we're just going to talk about, are the Knicks contenders in the East? Can they make Can they make the playoffs? Maybe, or are they just off to a hot start? Let's talk about that.
I'm gonna go first for a second. I'm actually glad that you caught yourself.
Okay,
first you said contenders, and then you lowered the bar so hard to playoff team.
The 8th, 9th seed maybe. I mean, that's good for. I mean, the Knicks. That's pretty
Dude,
good.
making the play-in is
that's
good for the
pretty good
Knicks.
for the Knicks.
You know, they can make the play-in and lose the game, and it's still a victory for them. But hell nah, man, they're not gonna play. So? Hell no, dude. They're not even coming close to the playoffs. You know, as much as I am biased for my team, the Bulls, we're better than the Knicks, man.
Okay,
the Knicks are just off to a hot. RJ Barrett is shooting below 40% from the field. He's shooting like 22% from 3. And not only that, Mitchell Robinson, I like Mitchell Robinson. He's actually been doing better on defense, staying out of foul trouble. He's better on the perimeter, but we all know that's not going to last. The guy is a walking foul. Not only that, Julius Randle, he's off to a great start. But does anybody think those numbers are going to hold up? Like, be honest with yourself. You think this guy is the black Nikola Jokic or something? That's not going to happen.
He's playing like it.
I know he is, but you think that's going to last? Be honest.
He's playing great right now. The numbers he's putting up are, I think they can be an 8th, 9th seed, maybe.
Oh, brother, he's falling for the hype.
8th,
He's
9th
falling
seed,
for the hype.
Trust me, anything above.
Watch, in a month, this guy's going to change his opinion. He's going to be like, dang, the Knicks are back to being trash.
I don't know, the 12th seed right now will be considered a success for the Knicks. Anything above the 12th seed, I think will be considered a success for the Knicks. But you look at Tom Thibodeau and what he's doing with this squad. Julius Randle is off to an amazing start. I think he's giving early shouts for All-Star game, right? Well, there might not be an All-Star, but there will be All-Star selection. But I think he's giving early shouts to be in the All-Star right now because he's playing at a phenomenal level.
If he keeps this up, he can make an All-NBA team.
Exactly.
But they got to win for that.
And the pickup of Austin Rivers, phenomenal because he's bringing an extra addition off the bench. He's bringing scoring off the bench. He's bringing creativity off the bench. And Tom Thibodeau, I'm worried about those guys though because they play 40+ minutes every game. Yeah. I'm worried about them. He runs all his starts to the ground, but if he can find a way to manage their minutes, maybe. But they're playing great basketball right now. Let me give you a list of some of the teams they're beat right now. They beat the Bucks by 20.
That was a fluke.
Is that good?
Huge fluke.
I don't care.
That was the fluke of the decade.
The Bucks had everybody present.
They
had everybody. They had Giannis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Lopez. Everybody was playing, and the Knicks beat them by 20. That's pretty good. Who else did they beat? The Jazz, who's a playoff team in the West, right? That's pretty good also. Who else did they beat? The Pacers.
Don't the Jazz have that overrated guy you said, Rudy Gobert?
Oh, come on. They're still a playoff team. They beat the Pacers, who's a contender in the East also.
Okay.
They beat the Hawks, who we consider a playoff team.
Hawks are 4-4 right now.
Okay, but we consider them a playoff team. Come on.
I don't know. They're a fringe playoff
right now,
team.
You think are the Hawks making would you bet the Hawks to make the playoffs right now?
I can't.
You would. Don't deny. Don't discredit the Knicks. Come on, let's show the Knicks some love.
The Knicks culture is disgusting, yo.
But Tom Thibodeau,
they're nasty.
We all know Tom Thibodeau is a no-nonsense coach, and he takes absolutely
This is probably
nothing.
His last chance as a coach, bro.
He takes no. Hey, there's
a reason that he's on the Knicks.
He's doing pretty good so far. They're 5-3, and they beat some amazing teams right now. They pick up Austin Rivers.
I can't believe you're doing this.
They pick up Austin Rivers.
You're falling for the hype after 8 games.
I watch the games, and I see the teams they beat. I don't want to say I'm a firm believer yet, but I like what I'm seeing from the Knicks. Hey,
their best player is an undersized power forward that can't even consistently make threes.
We all have fun battering the Knicks. Hey, trust me, it's fun battering them because they're just that awful. They've been awful for the last 10+ years.
By the way,
the Knicks are no good.
By the way, fun fact: the Knicks are still paying Joakim Noah $8 million this year. Actually, I think $6 million, and they're still paying him next year as well. And Wayne Ellington. They're still paying Wayne Ellington also. That should just summarize what the culture of this team is, yo.
They've had a very dysfunctional last couple of years. I'll give you that. But when you look at what they're doing this season, you've got to give them some credit for it. You've got to give them some credit. And yes, the next 10 games or the next 15, 20 games will tell us what the Knicks are about. But I got to say this. I like what I'm seeing so far from the New York Knicks. Yes, I said the New York Knicks because,
Hey, so put money on it, bro.
They've looked really good.
You want to put money on that?
Nobody bets on the Knicks. Come on.
Okay.
Well, you bet on them.
Like I said, he has no confidence on that team.
You bet on the Knicks to be
He knows they're going to be so trash next month, bro.
bad, but I'll say this. Like I said, give us the next 15 games. Let's see what the Knicks are about. Let's see what Tom Thibodeau does with this young group of players, and let's see if they can.
Dude, one of them are probably going to get hurt because he's playing them so many minutes.
They play a lot of minutes, but they're young. They can run. They can fly.
Oh my God, Derrick Rose was young too. And what happened to him?
But I mean, none of these guys.
Obviously, I'm not wishing that. I'm not
athletic.
Let me clarify. I'm not wishing injury on these guys, but I'm just saying. Let's be honest. Tom Thibodeau has a history
he runs
of running players into the ground. I remember Jimmy Butler got hurt in Minnesota that one year that cost them the spot all the way to the 8th seed. Remember Derrick Rose torn his ACL, came back, torn his meniscus. And Joakim Noah, that's another guy who got hurt under Tom Thibodeau. So Thibodeau doesn't have a great track record when it comes to this kind of stuff.
He doesn't, but you can't deny he's a good coach. He knows how to make players.
He's a good defensive coach.
Okay, and he knows how to make players play winning basketball and play team basketball.
Offensively, he's so basic and stale, bro. He's so stale. I mean, there's a reason that Julius Randle's numbers look so good because he puts the ball in the two best players' hands and let them really create everything.
And that's the NBA in this generation.
And that's where RJ Barrett is shooting like what garbage?
It comes down to do you have players that can make plays? That's what today's NBA is all about. It doesn't matter who your coach is.
So you think Julius Randle?
People think Mike D'Antoni is a great coach because he.
So you think Julius Randle can lead a team to the playoffs?
They started 5-3. They beat some playoff teams, and like I said, the next 15 to 20 games will give us an idea of what this Knicks team is about. But like I said, hey. They're doing better than the other team in New York.
I want y'all to bookmark this day.
They're doing better right now than the other team in New York.
January 7th. I'm not saying
they are better, but I'm saying
no.
We've got to be excited about what we see from the Knicks.
You're so not slick, bro, because
we've got to be excited about what we see from the Knicks.
I want y'all to for real bookmark January 7th, 2020, and give it give it 3 weeks. Watch what he says about the Knicks in about 3 to 4 weeks.
Like I
said. On February 7th, 2020, 2021. I'm saying February 7th. Give it a month.
Okay.
February 7th, 2021. I want us to do it. We're going to do an episode on that day, and I guarantee you, watch him change his opinion on that. I guarantee you, watch him change.
Okay, if the Knicks go back,
he's gonna hit that wall. He's going to hit that wall, that realization that the Knicks stink. They're garbage. They don't even deserve to be a team right now. The only reason that they're relevant is because they're the Knicks and they live in New York. James Dolan, that team is not going anywhere until he passes away because he's not giving that team to anybody. And I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm not wishing death on this man, but he's not passing that team to anybody else. And until he gives up ownership of that team or, God forbid, passes away, I'm sorry, bro. That team is going nowhere. That culture is disgusting. It smells. What they did... Dude, I'm so tired of that team. That team
and this is why I say give the Knicks some credit because we're used to the Knicks being so dysfunctional and being so bad. And right now, when they're playing winning basketball, I think we gotta give them some credit.
Okay, I got a video dropping about the Knicks today.
I think what you're getting wrong is you're trying to hold them to a high expectation.
Oh no,
we don't. I don't see them as a top 5, 6, 7 seed.
I expect them
exactly.
To stink.
You expect them to stink, but they're not stinking. They're doing pretty good. They beat a lot of good teams, and they're playing winning basketball right now. And I think we have to give them some credit.
And like I
look
say,
at the next 15 to 20 games
strike
and
twice,
see how they do.
Lightning can strike twice, and for the Knicks, Lightning has struck 5 times so far this year.
It's so fun to banter the Knicks, and I think it's pretty fun for a lot of people. But when they're playing winning basketball right now, you've got to give them some credit.
The fact that a good offseason for
they've got young, exciting players, and they're playing good basketball right now. Come on, give
what's
the Knicks
crazy?
some love.
The fact that a good offseason for the Knicks is just not overpaying anybody should tell you everything that you need to know about this team.
Julius 30
no, they stink. The Knicks make the Pistons look like the Warriors, yo. Come on, man. Get that out of here.
Hey, come on. Let's show the Knicks some love. I mean, come on.
No,
anyways. Staying on the NBA right now, we're going to talk about who has been the most disappointing player right now in the NBA. A lot of players have risen to the start. Steph Curry has 62. James Harden is look good. Jokic is look good. Joel Embiid, who's my favorite right now for the MVP. A lot of players have been good, but we're going to talk about the people who have been disappointed. And right now, who has been the most disappointed player to you in the NBA right now?
The most disappointing, I have to say, DeAndre Ayton. Wow. Because I had a lot of expectations for him. We actually did our rankings on my pod, and we had him, I want to say 7th or 6th or maybe 8th, around that range, 6 to 8 range, among the best big men in the league. Because and it was projections for this year. Because I predicted him.
I thought he was going to make a leap.
Yeah, I thought he was going to make a huge leap. But right now, the guy is attempting only 9.6 shot attempts. just short of 10 shot attempts a game. He's averaging 13 points, 11 rebounds. He's averaging the least amount of points in his entire career. His field goal percentage at 58%, I'll give him that. But he's even only getting to the line less than 3 times a game, 2.8 to be exact, and that's a career high. He's always struggled with being aggressive, being imposing on the game, because I don't know why he isn't. He's somebody that has potential to be a really good paint player, post player down low.
He has a skill set.
Yeah, he has the skill set. His form doesn't look bad. He has a solid jumper.
He's a good mid-ranger.
Yeah, he's a good mid-range. And not only that, but even from behind the arc, he showed some promise in the bubble last year. So, I just don't understand why he's not asserting himself on the game. He has Chris Paul, who helps all bigs everywhere he goes. Steven Adams, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, all the bigs, David West, literally every big he's played with. He's Clint Capella, that's another guy. Every big he's played with, he's had a really positive impact on their career. And I don't know why DeAndre is just not getting it together. He's good on the defensive side of the ball. I give him credit for that and all the other things he's doing. He's efficient, but he's got to be better. And sure, you could say the Suns are 6-2, but you don't know how long that's gonna last. They're not the most talented team in the NBA. They're not even the most talented team in the West. So them being 6-2 is somewhat of an overachievement. So in my opinion, he's got to step up because the Suns need him to be better. And soon, it's going to be time for that extension. And he wants to get paid.
Get that bag. Yeah. I mean, certainly, I think the only reason we're not talking about him right now is being very disappointed is because the Suns are 6-2.
Yeah.
And, they've been playing good basketball. But I just don't get why he isn't taking more shots because Chris Paul is number 1. Well, Devin Booker's number 1 and Chris Paul is number 2. So
Chris Paul's not even really the number 2. He's really just but the
ball is
the
ball
is
in his
guy.
hands more.
Because Mikal also is Mikal's he's kind of a second
option,
up the crumbs.
But
he's good.
He picks up the crumbs, and I say that to say, the most of the focus, the defensive team rather, they focus more on Chris Paul or Devin Booker.
Yeah.
So that should free up DeAndre Ayton a lot more. And he should take
especially as a lob
player. Yeah, he should take a lot more than 9 shots a game because that's just not going to cut it. And I think the Phoenix Suns, if they're the team we all hope they can be and they can contend in the West, he's got to get up more than 9 shots and he's got to start improving, for the Suns because they're going to need him in the West.
Yeah,
because
they
when
are.
you start playing bigs like Jokic and AD and all these pieces,
you got to have a force down low.
You got to have a force down low. And, like I said, the skill set is there. He has the talent, but he just has to start producing. But that's not my most disappointing player right now. My most disappointing player right now is in the East. And he goes by the name of Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has been the most disappointing player to me this season. Last year, he had an all-star season. He had one of his best seasons in his entire career last year with James Harden. He averaged 27 points per game. He was averaging just under 4 turnovers a game, and he wasn't turning the ball over as much as he is now. Let me give you some of his numbers. He plays 37 minutes a game. That's a lot. Averages just 20 points per game. I know you play with Bradley Beal, and you play with James Harden, who's a much better scorer than Bradley Beal.
Also, I don't even mean to cut you off here, but we need to start having this conversation about Russ because, this guy has had so many great teammates. We're going to get into that.
He's played over 37 minutes, and he's just averaging just under 20 points per game. That's mid. That's not even an all-star. That's like average play, and we don't.
Hey, let's round it up. It's about 20 points. It's about 20 points.
20.5.
Right? Yeah, it's about 20
That's
points.
not Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is usually in the 23-24 range. He played with James Harden.
At the end of the year, he was going off. He was
exactly.
30 at the
he
end
played
of
with
the year.
James Harden last year, and he averaged 27 points per game. And now you're playing with Bradley Beal, when you're supposed to be a leader. And now you're averaging the triple-doubles have got tired. They don't mean anything to anybody now because it's not winning basketball. You just stat padding. He's averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Okay, those are good numbers when you look at it on paper, but you watch the team. He's turning the ball over 5 times a game. 5 times as a point guard, as a starting point guard in NBA, and a veteran point guard in NBA.
And it's shooting.
People who handle the ball, we're gonna get into shooting. But people who handle the ball more, yes, they're more prone to a lot more turnovers. But 5 is just a high number.
No, it's different with Russ. The turnovers with Russ.
The turnovers are ridiculous.
It ain't even just get stripped or something. We're talking about banana peel turnovers, yo.
The passes are awful.
I remember he threw a lob last night in the end of the game.
In crunch time.
So in crunch time. And it was off the back. It was a terrible pass.
It's ridiculous the way Russ has depleted over there. And you would think, okay, I mean, he was the one who asked for a trade from the Rockets. So you would expect he's playing with a lot more fire in his belly, and he's going to play like winning basketball. And he has never been a great shooter. But these numbers are ridiculous. 39% from the field. 39% from the field. That's what Russell Westbrook is shooting as a point guard.
That's low.
His three-point shot, 28. 28% from the three-point. He's never been a great shooter, granted. But at least, 39 from the field is not going to cut it as a point guard. Listen to this free throw numbers. 63. 63% as a point guard. And that's never going to win you games. As the point guard of a team that has
free throws,
playoff hopes, those are Ben Simmons numbers. You know what I'm saying? And Russ, he's a way much better shooter than Ben Simmons. He's 63% is not going to cut it. And I think for the Wizards, in order for them to be the team that we all know they can be, to be that playoff team, to be that team in the East who can give some people trouble, maybe at the slides, Russell Westbrook has got to be better. Yes, he's getting triple-doubles every game, but nobody cares about that anymore. Only the first 2 years were like, oh, yeah, triple-double. But, like, now the triple-double is not winning basketball. When you play 37 minutes a game, you've got to have better numbers than that. You have to produce the ball better than that. You have to take care of the ball better than that as a point guard, as a veteran point guard for that matter, averaging just over 5 turnovers a game. That is not going to cut it. And I think Russell Westbrook, he's got to be better because right now you look at Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Those are two very impressive players, well, what they've done over their career-wise. But they're just 2-6. 2-6 is not going to cut it. This is a team that we seen when they picked up Russell Westbrook. We said, okay, they can make a lot of noise in the East and they can make the playoffs and probably cause a few teams problems, but they've been bad so far. And that, yes, we mentioned their defense earlier, but Russell Westbrook,
he's a part of that.
He's a huge part of that. He's a huge part of that
his
problem.
Defensive IQ is like a squirrel.
Exactly, and he has to step his game up just a tad bit. Yes, he goes and say, "Oh, I don't care about that." I mean, you call Spalding your best friend. Would you take care of it, please? You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, like. He needs to do a better job of taking care of the ball. If you're not a three-point shooter, stop shooting it. You take over 5 a game. That's too much for you. You know dang where you barely make 1. You make 1 out of your every 20. That's not good. So he needs to start. He needs to go back to the mid-range rush that we all knew he can be. Go back to the post because he can post any point guard in the league because he's just bigger and stronger than them. So he needs to get a lot more paint touches, and he needs to start playing winning basketball for the Wizards because this team, the team they have right now, I think because the East is weak, and I think they can be an 8th, 9th seed or 7th seed that some people think they can be, and they could probably make some noise in the playoff if Russell Westbrook will step his game
and the
game up.
The goal for the Wizards, every goal in the NBA should be to win the championship, but the goal for some teams, it can be lowered bar. Yeah. The goal for the Wizards should be to try to convince Bradley Beal to stay.
Absolutely.
Because if this keeps happening, Beal could just request a trade. Yeah. And once that happens, even if they elect to try to keep him on the roster, that's created such a terrible environment. Yeah. So I just feel like Russ, we keep lowering the bar for him, and I actually increased it because I thought they were going to be a playoff team this year. I thought they won the John Wall trade completely, and now look at it. It looks like we lowered the bar. Think about it. Russ went from the bar for Russ used to be a super team with Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Remember, they were supposed to be a super team. That failed. Then we lowered it to, okay, just be competitive with PG. That failed. Then we lowered it to, okay, you have a chance in Houston with James Harden. Okay, that failed. And now we've removed title contention from this guy. We said, dude, just make the playoffs in the East with Bradley Beal. And now that doesn't even look like that's going to happen. Russ is on pace, and I hate to say this may be too premature, but his career looks like it's coming to an end. I'm not trying to be mean, but he looks like he's going down the Iverson route, the Melo route, where your career just fizzles out so quickly to the point that you were a star one day, next day you're a role player. And that's what it's and I'm not saying he's a role player now, but guards like him that don't have, shot, they're not elite with their handle, or he has a nice handle. I'll say Russ has a good handle, but it's like, he has those turnovers.
He's careless with the ball, though.
Yeah, he's so careless.
He's very careless with the ball. And we look at the numbers, just over 5 turnovers a game. That is never going to cut it. Russ still, I think he still has a lot of in the tank because he still plays with a lot of high energy and high octane. Russ, he's
got chill with that energy,
get it, always, you know what I'm saying? So,
lion-ass nigga, bro.
I think he still has a lot in the tank, but he's got to step up his game, and he's got to shoot better. He's got to take care of the the ball better. He's got to, have better numbers to contend in the. You're in the East, not even in the West. You're in the East, where there's not that many good teams in the West. So if they don't make the playoffs this year, we're gonna have a lot of questions about Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, we are.
Because Bradley Beal, he's doing his part and he's producing, but Russell Westbrook hasn't been up to par. Anyways, that's my most disappointed NBA player so far this season, Russell Westbrook. Hopefully he steps his game up and makes Bradley Beal happy because they stink right now. 2-6,
They're
good.
smelly.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
They stink.
But anyways, basketball, that's it. Now we move into football, but not NFL, college football. The playoffs is on Monday, Alabama versus Ohio State. Right now, we're just going to have our picks. We're going to dissect the game and talk about it. Who do you think will win the game? Your prediction.
I want you to go first, yo. I want you to go first.
Do me the honors. I think Ohio State will win this game. Listen.
Wow.
It's going to be a shootout. I'm talking about the over-under. I don't know what the number is right now.
Bama got to be favored, right?
They're favored by 7. But the over-under of the score, I think, is about 80-something. I wouldn't put it out of the picture that each team will score 50. First of all, Alabama's defense is horrible. It's not horrible because they've got some players, some playmakers on defensive side of the ball, but they gave over 40 points to Kyle Trask, Florida. Are you kidding me? Justin Fields is going to rip that defense apart. I think Ohio State, and you asked me, okay, whose offense do I trust more? I trust both offenses equally. Equally?
You're lying to yourself, yo.
Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Mac Jones, and he's got some pieces on the offensive side of the ball. He's got some tight ends that can really block, some tight ends that can really catch, and he's got players on the wide receiver. Chris Olave, he can catch the ball. Gary Wilson Jr., they've got some playmakers on the wide receiver ball. And then you ask me, whose defense do I trust more? I trust Ohio State's defense more because you just seen what they did to Trevor Lawrence and that offense. They gave him some problems.
That might have been more so a fluke, though.
But they did an awesome job.
They did.
Shaun Wade, he's going to have to do something because he was getting cooked all the time. But, I think Ohio State, you can't stop Devontae Smith. I think you just got to take the good with the bad. Okay, you got to come up with one game plan or the other. Do we let Devontae have his and, shut out everybody else, or do we shut out Devontae and let everybody else have theirs? And I think the Alabama's offense is just so explosive. They're very explosive, but I think it comes down to can Ohio State's defense get a stop. I trust Ohio State's defense to get a stop more than I trust Alabama's defense to get a stop because you're not stopping Justin Fields. You see what he did to Brent Venables' defense. He ripped them apart. He shredded that defense. And then you come. Nick Saban, he's a very good defensive coach, but we've seen great defensive coach. But we've seen quarterbacks have Nick Saban's defense. Deshaun Watson had him. Trevor Lawrence had him. We've seen a lot of Joe Burrow had him. Justin Fields is up there with those guys, and I think Justin Fields, he's hot right now. How is his ribs doing? That's still in question. We don't know how healthy he is, but I think he's doing pretty fine right now. And I think Ohio State, they've got a lot of weapons on the defensive side of the ball that can cause Alabama's offense some troubles. And I'm going to go with Ohio State. I'm going to live by that, and I'm going to die by that. But like I said, it's going to be
what score you got?
I'm going to go 49-44 Ohio State. Ohio State 49, Alabama 44.
Okay.
But I wouldn't put it out of the question that they both score 50.
Okay.
Yes.
I think there's a good chance this game could be a shootout, but there's also a good chance this game could be a blowout.
Blowout?
Yeah, Alabama has shocked. Look. Alabama, I'm not going to lie, there have been a lot of years where I've seen teams up and coming, and people put faith in them, and they just let me down.
Exactly.
And Bama just stomps the hell out of them. But forget that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, though. I think Justin Fields is the truth. I think Ohio State is the truth. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to that three-headed monster in Bama.
Yep.
Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, and Najee Harris.
Yep.
And when you got those three, I'm sorry, you cannot stop them. You can only hope to contain them. You can stack the line on Najee. Sure, Devontae's going to kill you. Hell, you can double Devontae. Najee's going to kill you. It does not matter. They're averaging 48 points a game, which is second in the nation. Not only that, Najee has not just rushed for 24 touchdowns, which leads the nation also, and 2 or more of his 12 contests, he's done that. And not only that, but this team, when you have a three-headed monster like that, I just don't think any defense can withstand that. It's one of those situations where I'm not comparing them to Tyreek Hill and Mahomes, and I'm not saying they're as good as them. Obviously, this is college.
I compared it more of last year's LSU team.
Yeah. Well, LSU was something different last year. But when it comes to this Bama, like three-headed beast, it's one of those things that's like when you stop one, the other kills you, and it doesn't even matter. You know, Mac Jones is having a great year. He's going to be a first-round pick for sure. You also have, and Jalen Waddle, that's a game decision.
There are reports
that Jalen could come back, but if I was him, I wouldn't even want to come back. And if he does, I doubt he's even going to play that much, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that. But I just think it's going to come down to those three. And as much as I like Justin Fields, his health is compromised. His ribs are not 100%. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way. There's just no way you can be 100%.
But I think he'll be good to go.
He will. Did you see him against Clemson?
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying against Clemson on the injured rib. He still shredded the defense apart. And I'll argue Clemson's defense is a lot more better than Alabama's defense. And I didn't even get to mention the running back for Ohio State, Trey Sermon. In the last 2 games, he's ran for over 180 yards per game. He's a beast. He's a big body transfer from Oklahoma to Ohio State, and he's running the ball out of his mind right now. And you add that with Justin Fields' athleticism to that play action game, that shotgun play. They can do a lot of damage to Alabama's defense. But like I said, it comes down. I think it's gonna come down to who can get a stop in the fourth quarter, because I don't see how you stop either of these offenses, because they're just so dynamic and explosive that I think it's gonna be a shootout. And we just gotta hope whoever has the ball last, wins the ball game.
I mean, I'll say this. Over the last 2 games, Mac Jones has thrown 9 touchdowns.
Yep.
And I also think, now granted, let's just say this. Notre Dame needs to get the fuck out of here. Like, they need to be automatically,
in the playoffs
they need to be disqualified from playoff competition, because every single bowl game, it's like, I remember last time they were in the championship, that was the Manti Te'o situation.
Yeah.
And Manti, that was an embarrassment. That was to Bama too. They are an embarrassment. They are frauds. They trick us. They trick us more than Paul George does. It is an embarrassment how much Notre Dame plays. But regardless, that's aside from the point.
That's a bye game for whoever's playing Notre Dame, to be honest.
And they know that they're frauds. Yeah. They know that they're frauds.
They win a couple of games every year, and the committee's like, oh my God, you see, they win so much games. Let's just put them in. But it's whatever.
They even got lucky Trevor Lawrence missed that game.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have even made it.
But anyways, sticking to the national championship, I've got Ohio State. He's got Alabama.
Let me even pick my score.
Oh, pick your score.
My score, I think it's going to be
49, 44.
He's riding it down.
Ohio State, and you got Alabama.
No, I'll write my score. I got 45, 42.
Wow.
Bama to Ohio State. And look, I'm not even saying, and I'm a Bama fan. Roll Tide, roll. We roll. Over here, we rep with Bama out here. But I can't lie, Ohio State is dangerous. They're Justin Fields.
Lethal.
That is a dangerous man. A very dangerous man.
And I think they're playing with a lot more fire under their belly because of last year's disappointing loss to Clemson.
Yeah,
and I think you've seen clips.
They got the revenge. Though.
But they're not just gonna sleep great because they're playing balanced. They're still coming with a lot of heat. And I think Ryan Day, pretty soon he's gonna be getting a lot of calls from the NFL. He probably already has started getting calls from the NFL because he's one of the best play callers in the entire country, Ryan Day, because he does a phenomenal job with Ohio State and their quarterback and the weapons that he has at his disposal. And I think it's going to be a very fun game to watch. That is something you do not want to miss. On Monday, national championship, last game of the season, Ohio State versus Alabama. I've got my pick, Ohio State winning 49-44 to Alabama, and he's got Alabama 45-42 Ohio State.
Yeah.
But we'll see. May the best man win.
Yeah.
But, we'll be back. Talking some more NFL, sticking with football, but just this time moving to the NFL. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. We just talked about some football, and we're going to dive straight back into it. Some more football, but this time moving from college football into the NFL. The regular season is over, and now it's the playoffs, and a lot of teams, if you didn't make it, sorry for you. Cancun on 3, 1, 2, 3. But if you did make it, you're right now preparing for the playoffs. But we're going to talk about a team who didn't make the playoffs and a team who was wasting their quarterback years, their prime years actually, away. And that team is the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson had one of the best seasons a quarterback could ever have, but his team let him down. He was first in passer rating. He had a lot of touchdowns, barely any interceptions. And now there are rumors that he might be asking for a trade. Do you think the Texans and Deshaun Watson are on the same page right now? Because the rumors don't seem to confirm that. What do you think?
I don't think they are.
Wow.
Because if you saw the tweet that he put up, I think he said
he said some things never change.
Yeah, some things never change. And when I saw that, I was like, and that was right after they hired the GM. Literally right after the news broke. And he knows what he's doing when he puts out a tweet like that. These athletes know what they're doing. They always be saying the media before some, but no.
I mean, they don't say it directly. They code it, you know.
But they know exactly what they're doing when they do stuff like that, especially when he's the franchise player. It sucks for Deshaun, because like they let go of DeAndre, brought in David Johnson, and a second rounder, if I'm not mistaken. Like that just sucks. Because look at Stephon Diggs. They traded Stephon for a whole first round pick. And they ended up getting Justin Jefferson. It's not even like they went to go get a replacement. They went to just get a whole bunch of number 2 receivers to put around Deshaun. And it's, to his credit, he made it work. But their offense can't compensate for how bad their defense is. And J.J. Watt, he even gave that press conference saying he needs to be better. He said he even apologized to Deshaun. He has nothing to apologize for. The only thing I criticize J.J. Watt about is not being always available because his health. But when you have all those back surgeries, it's tough to stay healthy, especially for a big guy like that. But in the case of Deshaun, putting up monster numbers, led the league in passing, number 1 in passer rating, top 5 in QBR, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. The guy was outstanding this year, and it really sucks because it's like he's in these situations like I can't even think of a guy like in the situation this bad, because he's
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, you can say Stafford. You can say Stafford. The reason I can't even think somebody like him because he's a top 5, arguably top 3.
Top 5 quarterback right now in the NFL.
Arguably top 3.
I think so.
I think you could even argue he's the 3rd best because outside of Mahomes and Rodgers, the window is kind of open in the top 5.
Before the season that Josh Allen had, we had Deshaun.
I even think Deshaun's better than Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I actually
absolutely.
think he is. The only difference is Deshaun doesn't have a number 1.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs.
He's got a solid number 2 in Cole Beasley.
Yeah, he also got Cole Beasley. They got a nice receiving core because when you got those 2 as your number 1 and 2, it makes all the jobs for the rest of the receivers way easy. Even the tight ends, it released some pressure off of them in the passing game. They also have a solid running game as well. Their offense is explosive, and a lot of that changed with Stephon Diggs. And you saw DeAndre and Deshaun, they had great chemistry together, and it improved Deshaun's ability to pass. Yes. Because when he came into the league, a lot of people had questions with this passing, which, that was kind of questionable to me because I always thought he was a good passer at Clemson.
Yeah.
He obviously had some work.
But he got better as a passer.
But he did get way better. And D-Hop was a big factor into that. But for them to just let him go and not even get a replacement, like that to me is wild. And Bill O'Brien, there's a reason he's in the unemployment line right now.
He shouldn't be unemployed. He should serve some jail time. Bill O'Brien should be jailed because what he did to this franchise was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, by the way, he's a Texans fan.
I don't know how Bill O'Brien is still walking. First of all, I just see reports that he might get a job at Alabama. Excuse me? Bill O'Brien should never come, but he should go coach, I don't know, a kindergarten football team.
He smells.
To learn. Because what Bill O'Brien did to this franchise was absolutely ridiculous. You have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and what do? You trade away his number 1 option. And who do you get back for him? A bag of chips and 2 donuts. Are you crazy? Deshaun Watson,
they got a diet soda.
Deshaun Watson this season, without a true number 1, led the NFL in passing yards.
It's a fact.
He led NFL passing yards. He was 7th in touchdown passes. He threw 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
To Will Fuller.
Who missed the last 4 games of the season because he got suspended. Exactly.
Injury prone, never available.
Brandon Cooks missed some games. David Johnson missed some games. So he was really playing with just.
And look at the guys you just named. Those are the two best receivers.
Exactly.
Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, guys that are number twos. I mean, Brandon Cooks was struggling with availability in LA. Will Fuller has never been available.
He's always injured.
And then suspension. Like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous, yo.
They started off about 0-4, I think, or 0-5. And then they decided, okay, it's time. Bill O'Brien, you've done a lot of damage. And no, he did a lot of damage way earlier before he got fired. And I think what he did to this franchise, they have no cap next year.
But a lot of that is on Deshaun.
They're under, okay,
a lot of that is on Deshaun,
but they have no cap. They're -15 under the cap. This season... The season Deshaun Watson had this year, that's easily a 10-16.
Now you think about it, Matthew Stafford is a great comparison.
Exactly.
Now you think about it, yeah.
The season he had this year, that team is an 11-5 team or 10-16, but they went 4-12. They lost so many games because Deshaun Watson, yes, he was good in the offense, but the defense was just horrific. It was terrible. But this team, I don't see where they go from here because, yeah, you hire a coach because their offense has never been a problem because as long as you have the ball in Deshaun Watson's hand, you believe he's going to make the right plays and make plays.
Okay, to be fair, though, I will say this. They were up on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay,
and they blew that lead. And I'm not saying it's all on him. Special teams played a factor into that. Yep. They fumbled on the kick return. A lot of that changed the momentum of the game.
Absolutely.
And they came back in the first half. They came back from that. Was it like 28-0?
Yep.
And they blew that entire lead. So you can't just exclude him from that blame. But it's not all on him. The defense has to be better. The coaching obviously needed to be better. But yeah, Deshaun, I pity him. I really pity him.
Yes, they fired Bill O'Brien, and I think Romo Cornell, he deserves some credit because, he made them a little bit better.
I'm so disappointed in the Texans because they passed on Eric Bieniemy.
They haven't even given him an interview.
Not even an interview, not even a look.
Okay, so Deshaun Watson comes out and he says, I think we need a culture change in the Texans because in the last couple of years, they've just been hiring whoever works under Bill Belichick. And let's just go hire whoever's from the Patriots. And then what do you do this season when Deshaun Watson says we need a culture change? That means no more Patriots guys. Go hire somebody who's experienced. Go hire somebody who has, knowledge about the game. Go hire a good GM and a good coach. And who do they go hire? They go hire a player personnel from the Patriots. In the last 5 years, who have the Patriots drafted? They're not good at draft. They don't draft wide receivers good. They don't, maybe defensive players, yeah, but they haven't had a good draft. You wouldn't say the Patriots have had a good draft in the last couple of years. So they go hire that guy from the Patriots. And then they give him a 6-year deal.
I actually want to.
A 6-year deal. I mean, the Texans, it's ridiculous. Like they have people who have brats for brains running the organization.
I actually want to say something here. And I really don't care how anybody takes this. You can take this as me playing the quote-unquote race card. I actually really just don't care.
Yeah.
But Bob McNair, I want to say something because he already pissed people off.
He's racist.
I'm not going to go that far, but he's already pissed people off with, a lot of the things he said about protesting.
Yeah.
And I'm being really serious.
He sponsored a Trump I don't know if it was the rally or the election or something.
I think he sponsored
something Trump-wise.
But I don't want to get into his politics per se. And look, I'm not trying to pull the race card here, but I think it's ridiculous that you have so many qualified black coaches, so many qualified people to take jobs, and you see guys like Adam Gase getting opportunities. You see guys like Matt Patricia getting opportunities.
It's terrible.
And I'm not even saying those guys don't even have resumes, but the fact that a guy like Eric Bieniemy can be passed up and Bob McNair, with the history that he has, is still the owner of the Houston Texans, I think that's ridiculous. It's preposterous. And I think the fact that it's such a rarity to see black coaches and then to see them not even be as successful. Yeah. It's not because they're not competent. Mike Tomlin has shown that black coaches can be competent.
Exactly.
He's a rarity not only because he's lasted long, but because he's successful. And because the organization backed him. The Steelers backed him as the coach. If you go back and listen to his first meeting, he said we're going to go back to Steelers football. You know, like he put a culture in that team. And the fact that black coaches are not given fair shakes, and and when they want to bring in black coaches, they're bringing in guys like Marvin Lewis, guys that can't win a playoff game, 0-9 in the playoffs. Hugh Jackson, these garbage ass black coaches. And I'm not even sitting here saying Eric Bieniemy is gonna be the next Belichick.
Yeah.
But the fact that you didn't even give him a look speaks to the level that
he is the offensive coordinator for the most recent Super Bowl team.
The most explosive offense we've ever seen, honestly.
And yes, you might want to say, okay, Andy Reid, but I mean, Eric Bieniemy is not just sitting there on the sidelines, hands folded, like, okay, Andy Reid called him. No, Eric Bieniemy is one of the people in Patrick Mahomes' ears telling him what plays to run. Okay, granted, he's not the one throwing the ball, but he's the one calling the plays. And I think the fact that he doesn't have a head coaching job right now, it's very disappointing, to be honest.
Mahomes can't just come in and be – Mahomes literally came in and we all knew he was great from the moment he stepped onto the field. It wasn't just his talent that got him there. It was the coaching. Coaching is the number one aspect in all of football.
Exactly.
It's a coach's league. That's why you see people
coaches,
always
GMs,
pick. That's why organizations and front offices always pick the coach before quarterbacks in some situations. Absolutely. Unless you're dealing with like Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes, you always pick the coach over the quarterback. Brady Belichick, who's still in New England right now. It's Belichick. So as far as I'm concerned, Bob McNair, I think it's about time that he gets rid of that team because he is doing an awful job. Awful job.
And I think they're just going to waste away Deshaun Watson's prime years because right now he is taking it to another level, and they just haven't done him any favors with what they've surrounded him with, the coach. And I think hiring somebody like Eric Bieniemy, obviously that would. He's a quarterback coach. He knows he's played with Patrick Mahomes. Well, he has coached Patrick Mahomes, and if he gets the opportunity to coach somebody like Deshaun Watson, I think they can do some great things. But they haven't even called him in for an interview or even called him at all. And I just think it's just crazy. But anyways, the Texans got a lot to figure out. They just need to get their act together.
Hire Eric Bieniemy
or something. Or Deshaun Watson is going to be up. I think J.J. Watt is already done, but. Pretty soon they're going to have all their star players wanting out of Houston because it seems like they just can't figure anything out. But anyways, talking about a trash team, but let's move on to people who actually matter, people who are in the playoffs right now. Right now we're going to talk about who has the most pressure right now in the NFL playoffs. We've got a lot of good teams, a lot of great quarterbacks. Who do you think right now in the playoffs has the most approved or has the most pressure on them?
I think it's undoubtedly 1,000% Lamar Jackson. Because Lamar, not only is he 0-2 in the playoffs, which is his last 2 postseason appearances, has not even got a single win, but he's performed so low under the so far below the expectations. Now, I will admit the Titans game, a lot of people kind of boost that a little bit too much last year.
His receivers dropped a lot of passes.
Yeah, his receivers did drop a lot of passes. Hollywood Brown is not what a lot of people think he is. He literally is living off of the first play of last season.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie.
Miami.
Yeah, in Miami. He's literally living off of that play.
Yeah.
People just think he's like Antonio Brown for some reason because of that play. But I'm glad people are kind of starting to realize he's not what a lot of people thought he was coming into the league. But not only that, but the expectations for Lamar in the first playoff game against the Chargers, it wasn't too high, but he stunk it up in the first half.
He stunk it up.
He was awful.
Agreed.
And then the next year against the Titans, he's coming off of an MVP season.
Yeah.
One of the greatest years we've ever seen by any quarterback, any player. Yeah. That was a phenomenal season. And not only did he have a great year, but then he goes into the playoffs against a team that wasn't even favored to get out of the first round.
Yeah.
And he loses to them. And not only does he lose to them in embarrassing fashion, but Derrick Henry just destroyed them on the other side of the field. So he got outplayed by the other opponent's star. And I'm not sitting here saying you can compare a running back and a quarterback. I'm not saying that. But in these situations that he's losing, he's getting destroyed by the opponent. Like the opponent is making him look so inferior to what we all know his capabilities are. And there are already questions about his play style and his inability to throw the ball downfield with accuracy. And the fact that he's facing the team that just beat him the year prior. Yeah. That's such tough luck.
Yeah, he's got pressure.
If he loses again and goes 0-3, not only are there questions about the contract that he could potentially get because he's in line for a contract extension soon, a big one, and that could affect his pay.
Yeah.
not only can it affect his play, it's going to affect his psyche.
Yeah.
You know, because to go 0-3 in your first 3 playoff appearances, you know how that could damage you forever.
Absolutely.
You know, and mental psyche matters so much, especially with young players in any sport, basketball, football, soccer, I don't care what it is. If you're a young player, your mental state of mind is the most fragile thing to you, because one mistake, doesn't matter how small it is, it could just mess up so much of what you're doing, your rhythm, your flow. And Lamar is a rhythm type of player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for him to go 0-3 against a team that he just lost to the previous year, that's just a really, really bad look. And I also believe that in order for him to really, I hate to say this, but in order for him to put his name among the elite of the elite quarterbacks, because I still don't view him as an elite quarterback.
What?
I don't view him as an elite quarterback. I'm sorry. I view him as a really good quarterback.
Recent MVP?
Yeah, I know. I think that MVP season, like, we'll never see that again. We'll never see that again.
I think because we were also caught
and I'm talking about the effectiveness of that season. I'm not saying he can't replicate the numbers. Unless he becomes a better passer.
They went 14-2 last year, and this season they went 11-5 with all the other things that they had to deal with, COVID, injuries here and there. I think for the next couple of seasons, he's always going to win more than 10 games. So I think he's always going to be in the MVP conversation.
I'm just talking about how electrifying that year was. Definitely. I don't think he's ever going to have a year like that.
Last year was ran for over 1,000 yards.
He did it again this year. He ran for over 1,000 yards again this year. And I also think that Tennessee defense is not good. So he's got to be able to go out there and put up numbers on them. Absolutely. And if he can't even have a great game, that's not good. He's got to win. Forget great game. Yeah. You got to win, Lamar. You got to win. And if you don't, the playoff choker stuff, that's going to just become even louder.
I think it is.
I think that's going to be solidified. He's going to be a solidified playoff choker if he can't get the job done.
And I think with the Ravens, it comes down to, because, you know, their style of play is sort of different from what everybody, because they run the ball, pound the ball. And I think with them, they can't get behind. You know, they can't get behind, because when you get behind with the Ravens,
you got to throw the ball.
Now you have to throw the ball, which is not Lamar's best strength. And now, you know, he's more prone to interceptions, and, you know.
They always say if his legs were just 50% of his if his arms were just 50% of his legs, that man would be something dynamic
player. You know, if it was half of what Mahomes was throwing the ball, not even just half, you know, he would be a totally better player. But, you know, I think the Ravens can win. But like we seen last year, we had them winning by a lot too. But, you know, we seen with Tennessee.
They were so focused on the Chiefs.
Can they contain Derrick Henry? That's still nobody can, to be honest. Nobody. But, you know, it comes down to the Ravens. The Ravens are a better team. Yes, the Titans are a good team, but I think the Ravens are a better team because of who they have at quarterback, which is Lamar Jackson. But that's your quarterback. That's your player with the most pressure. Mine is another quarterback in the NFC, Tom Brady. The GOAT.
Oh my God.
Last time we seen Tom Brady in a playoff game, he had 13 points against the Tennessee Titans. 13 points, all right? He threw for 201 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. If you watch that game, he played awful. Tom Brady played absolutely pathetic in last year's playoff game.
I cannot believe this.
Okay, granted, he didn't have
the GOAT.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Granted, he didn't have pieces to throw to, but now you've got riches all over the field right now. And now they come and sit at 11-5 record. They play the Washington Redskins, who I think
the Washington football team.
Pardon me, the Washington football team. Right. They play the Washington football team, who I think that game is going to be closer than a lot of people think, because that front line is.
I think it's going to be an upset.
It's a horror show, that front line, because they can get at the quarterback. And we know one way to beat Tom Brady, you've got to get at him, and you've got to get at him fast. And the Washington football team, they present that trouble. They can get at the quarterback fast. And I think Tom Brady, yes, you move on from Bill Belichick. You want to prove, I was the reason why the Patriots were that dynasty more than Bill Belichick. And now is his opportunity to prove that he was actually the reason of why, you know, the Patriots were so successful more than Bill Belichick. And now he's got the receivers that he has, and now he's got the players. He's got Bruce Arians, who's just a hothead, but now he's got pieces that he can throw the ball to. So he better not, he's not going to have a field day against that Washington defense because it's top 1 or top 2 in the entire NFL. So you're not going to have a field day with that Washington defense. And how healthy is Mike Evans? We don't know. But still, you've got Chris Godwin, you've got Antonio Brown, you've got Robert Gronkowski, you've got Leonard Fournette, and you've got Jones at the running back. So you've still got pieces, whether Mike Evans is healthy or not. So now there's no excuses. You've got to win games. The last time we see you in a playoff game, Tom Brady had 13 points, 201 yards, 0 TDs, and 1 interception. That's not good, my friend. And now he's got all the pieces that he has. He's got players. He's got everything that he needs. There's no excuses for Tom Brady this time. And if he was playing a team that, wasn't so good defensively, I would have said, okay, but now he's going to face a horror show with Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Those guys are coming for Tom Brady. And I think Tom has the most pressure in these playoffs to prove that he is still Tom Brady. Because if we see in the regular season, he was 1-6 against playoff teams. So that means most of his numbers, they were against teams that were garbage. And the teams that he played that were actually good, he was 1-6. So I think Tom Brady has a lot to prove in this playoffs, in this postseason, and he better come through.
Okay, guys, Tom Brady is a 6-time Super Bowl champion, a 4-time Super Bowl MVP, a 3-time regular season MVP, and is widely considered not only by the mass public, but by me and by him as the greatest player in the history of the NFL. And he's sitting here saying that he has the most pressure.
Yes, absolutely.
A man who's solidified. Dude, Brady could go out there and stink it up.
Oh, dude, no way.
Wait. He could go out there and stink it up, and when he retires, nobody will mention this. Nobody will mention this. For example, Joe Montana led the Kansas City Chiefs to the AFC Championship at the end of his career, one of the last couple of years of his career. Do people even care? Honestly, do people even care? This is the phase that Brady's at. People only care if you get rings. That's it. He lost to the Titans and nobody even cares anymore.
Oh, no, we ripped him apart for that game.
Nobody cares, though. He's still the GOAT.
It's not going to have
Does it affect his legacy?
It's not going to have a dent in his legacy, but we are going to have conversations of...
But how can he be under so much pressure if it's not even going to affect his legacy?
Because this is the first time that we get to see him away from Bill Belichick, away from the Patriots.
So it's going to affect his legacy.
It's not going to have a dent in his legacy, but we are going to raise some questions as if to... Was Bill Belichick actually the reason he was so successful than to the greatness of his, how good of a quarterback he was? Yeah, he's the GOAT. Nobody's questioning that. But this is the first time we get to see him away from Bill Belichick and what he can do by himself now that he has a lot more weapons than he had last year, which has stunk it up. And now he has weapons that he can throw the ball to, and he's got people like around him that he can feed the ball. And now we get to see, is Tom Brady really what he's about, or was that just more Bill Belichick? And that's all I'm saying. He's got a lot to prove. So not just people like me, but to people like and Bill Belichick and people in the Patriots organization. Are you really that guy, or was Bill Belichick the one, the reason that you won 6? I mean, yes, Bill Belichick wasn't the one out there throwing the ball to receivers and whatnot, but, Bill Belichick, some of the things he dialed up were a lot more impressive. And I think now it's Tom Brady's chance to actually prove to people, oh, wait, y'all thought y'all forgot about me? No, I'm the GOAT. And I think this postseason gives him a chance to prove that, and that's all I'm saying.
You know what's crazy? Like, I'm the one that gets called a Brady hater here.
That's all
and
I'm
you're
saying.
Sitting here telling me that a guy who, I just can't believe a guy who's known as the greatest, how he has so much pressure.
He has a lot to prove this season.
That just doesn't make sense.
It's his first year away from the Patriots, and he has to prove that was just not all Bill Belichick, that he was actually that good. And Tom Brady can be Tom Brady. And I think that's still something to see right now because there are a lot of great quarterbacks. Tom Brady is the GOAT. Nobody is arguing that. But he has a lot to prove this postseason.
And you brought up Mike Evans.
There are no excuses. You've got weapons now. I don't want to hear I didn't have wide receivers to throw the ball to. You've got weapons now. You've got 2 great running backs. You've got Riches and a wide receiver. Now you've got a defense now Now I don't want to hear any excuses. You can't score 13 points and throw 201 yards, no TDs, and 1 interception, and say, "Oh, okay. I mean, I'm still the GOAT. I'm Tom Brady." No, you can't do that. He's actually have to produce the game, and the defense cannot win him the game. He's actually had to go out there and play good football.
So you think
1-6 against playoff team in the regular season is not a fluke, guys.
I mean, if you're going to pick anybody from the NFC, I would have expected you to pick Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has more pressure than Tom Brady.
I wouldn't say that.
The man hasn't done anything since the LO beef was broken up.
I mean, but this is the first time he's actually had a team.
Okay, and what's he going to do with it? That's pressure.
They've looked good. The Bucks have not looked as good as
defense that their best player is a freaking linebacker.
But anyway,
I'm not talking about Bobby Wagner. I'm talking about Jamal Adams. That's a linebacker. That's not no safety, yo. This guy gets destroyed in coverage every play.
Regardless, safety, linebacker, DT, whatever, he makes plays.
Oh, yeah. I said, like a linebacker.
He makes plays.
That man is not a safety,
quarterback, Jamal Adams.
That man has to change positions.
He gets the job done that he makes plays. But anyways, your most pressured player in the postseason is Lamar Jackson. Mine is Tom Brady. Let's see who actually lives up to how good they are and comes to play.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on. Last segment of the day, we're just going to run through the playoff games and make our prediction. A lot of excited. I'm not going to leave my bed or room, couch, whatever it is. Sunday, Saturday, I'm literally going to be stuck to my TV screen watching a lot of NFL football. And right now, we're just going to run through the games and make our predictions. Start off with the first game of Saturday, Colts versus Bills. Your pick, my friend.
I got the Bills. I think Rivers is just so prone to turning the ball over.
Phillip Rivers going to Phillip Rivers.
He's going to Phillip Rivers. And if he actually gets the job done, props to him. But I just don't see that happening. I think the Bills' offense far too explosive, and Phillip can't keep up with that.
Absolutely. The Bills' offense, I don't see how you stop that offense. Then, it comes down to can Phillip Rivers protect the ball.
Yeah,
he not throw it to the other team, and the Phillip Rivers we know cannot keep the ball. But the Colts have a good defense, but the Bills' offense is just so explosive that you can't really stop them.
Then again, Josh Allen, he's got to play well.
Josh Allen definitely.
Last year he didn't do
Last year he stunk it up at the end, but I think he's a more mature player and much more better player than he is last year. But I've got the Bills also, and I think they win by like 10. I don't think it'll be closer.
I don't think it'll be close.
I think maybe 10, 14-point win. I've got the Bills winning. And the second game of the week on Saturday, the Rams Seahawks. Who do you got, my friend?
I got the Rams.
I got the Rams. Wow. That's a bold pick.
The reason is because even though Jared Goff is questionable, he's questionable right now, I do think he will play. I think he will play. And I will admit, if he doesn't play, that's a different story. But if he does play and he is ready to go, I think that defense, I'm sorry, they're going to cause some problems.
Yeah,
they're definitely going to cause some problems. Jalen Ramsey is the one guy that DK Metcalf struggles with.
Absolutely.
And not only that, when you've nullified DK, Tyler Lockett is not no number one, He's not no number one. And
but he can hurt you, though.
He can hurt you. He's a very shifty receiver. I'll give him his props there. He's a nice little route runner. But I'm sorry. No, he's not a number one. And not only that, but the Rams have multiple ways they could beat you. They could beat you on the ground. They could beat you through the air. They have a nice tight end set. Well, especially when they throw that 2 tight end set, it's just
with Higbee and the other guy.
It's just too much at that point. And I also think that defensive line. I know they lost Brockers. Brockers is still questionable, but Leonard
got Aaron Donald.
You still got Aaron Donald. You got Aaron Donald. Is literally you need 2 guys on it right there.
Sometimes 3.
Sometimes 3. And he still even busts through some of those guys. Aaron Donald, who's the contender for Defensive Player of the Year every time he's healthy. Leonard Floyd has had a really good year. And even despite Brockers, being out, I still think that D-line is it's menacing.
It's a lot to deal with. But I'm going to go Seattle here. Because like you said, Jared Goff's health is an issue. And yes, the backup is a good game manager, but I think with Seattle, they played last game of the season and Seattle won. And Seattle won that game. And I think Seattle is a way much better team than they were early in the season. Yes, they, started off rough-ish but, they got Jamal Adams back. And now they're a much better defender, linebacker, whatever you want to call him, safety. He's still a playmaker regardless. Jamal Adams, he's a beast. He's one of the better defenders in the NFL.
A pass rusher.
But I trust Russell Wilson now because now he's got DK, he's got Tyler Lockett, he's got Chris Carson who can run the ball really well. He deserves some credit also, but I just don't think the Rams have looked really shaky the last couple of weeks.
I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. If I'm the quarterback of the Rams, I'm doing a go route on that dude's side every single time.
I mean,
dude cannot defend coverage.
You can get Jamal Adams sometimes, but
all the time, yo. If I'm not mistaken,
but he's such a good defender that he can catch up to it.
Hell no.
He can. Yes, he cheats off a lot of plays sometimes, but hey, he gets at the quarterback. He gets at the running back. Jamal Adams is a game maker.
Was the trade? Who won that trade? The Jets or the Seahawks?
Well, you got to look at the teams and what they needed at that time. Yeah,
be honest, dude.
The Seahawks gave a lot up for Jamal Adams, but
too much.
But Jamal Adams brings something to the Seattle defense that they've always lacked. Exactly. And he just brings that.
Dude, he's a safety, man.
He makes them a better.
Dude, your best pass rusher
team
should not be a safety, my guy.
It doesn't matter.
He's the Ben Simmons of football right now.
Honey Badger, they all maneuver.
Stop it. Honey Badger was good in coverage. Stop it. That's not the same. That's not the same. He's literally the Ben Simmons of the on the defensive side of the ball. No coverage.
He's like something they call a free defensive play. They don't have a position. They just maneuver around.
My God.
And they make plays when needed
Get out of here.
And they make plays when they need to.
Get out of here. Anyway, I love you, Jamal, but come on, step up, bro.
He's a big playmaker. But you're going Rams. I'm going Seattle. Let's move on to the last game of Saturday night. Bucks, Washington. Are you going upset here?
I mean, yeah, I've already said the Bucks are going to lose. Yeah, the Bucks are going to lose. I'm going with the Washington football team.
Wow.
And the reason is, I talked about it last episode, and I said, I just think the playoffs is about matchups, bro.
Yep.
And they match up so well against the Bucks. Like, their defense is a top 5 defense, one of the best defensive lines in the league, if not the best defensive line in the league. I think Chase Young, Bostic, Sweat, those guys can get after the quarterback, bro. And that's the recipe to beat Tom Brady. Yep. You got to be able to get after him. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee they're going to win. Obviously, this is an upset pick. So it's not even like they're favorites to win. But I just think that when you have that defensive line that they have and the way Alex Smith has been playing for them, I think there's nobody that can stop them. I mean, my bad. I'm saying nobody on the Bucks can really stop that defensive line.
I mean, I'm going to go with playoff Tom here.
Oh, brother.
I just talked about how there's so much pressure on Tom Brady, and I'm hoping that he comes through because if he does it, it's going to be a huge shock, and a lot of questions are going to have to be answered.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get on his ass.
We're going to have some questions about Tom Brady. He just mentioned the Washington their defense, the football team, their defense. It's top 2 in the league. That front line is just so... It's so scary the way they
Rams, right?
The way they come at the quarterback is so scary. And Tom Brady, if you want to beat Tom, you've got to get at him, and you got to get at him fast. And I think the Washington football team, they do a good job of that. But I think Tom Brady already watches all of this on film, and he knows exactly how to attack it. Now is Mike Evans healthy? We don't know. That's still something to look out for, but he's still got weapons. Antonio Brown can hurt you. Chris Godwin can hurt you. You've got Rob Gronkowski. And the run game also, they've got 2 amazing running backs. And I think Tom comes out of a limp here and wins this football game.
By the way, shout out to Tom Brady because he got Antonio Brown a $100K bonus.
He did.
Because he force-fed him 11 grabs for a $100,000 bonus.
But
that was pretty cool.
I'm going to go Bucks here. I think Tom Brady comes through, and, I don't trust Washington's offense.
It is fairly
Alex
stale.
Smith is a game changer. Let's not act like the Bucks defense is bad. No, they're top 5 defensive.
Their secondary is
it's suspect, but their front line is also good. You can't run on them. They're a good defensive team, and I trust Tom here. Playoff Tom, different animal. But now let's move to Sunday. His most player with the most pressure in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson, takes on the Tennessee Titans, a team they played last year. Yes, Lamar lost, but do you think he can avenge his loss this year?
Okay. I'm not being biased. I'm not going to try to be biased here because I am a Steelers fan, so I hate the Ravens. I completely despise them.
Okay.
But I got to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
This is a tough one. This might be the hardest one.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Out of all these teams, but I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans, bro.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with the Titans. I literally was gonna say the Ravens. I was gonna say the Ravens, but the reason I'm gonna go with the Titans is because this is gonna be a ground and pound game.
Absolutely.
That's what it's gonna be.
It's a whole lot of running.
Yeah, and I trust Derrick Henry. I hate to say this, but I trust Derrick Henry more than I trust Lamar. Wow. And that's no shot at Lamar. Derrick Henry is one of the 5 best players in the league right now.
Absolutely.
You know, and the guy just ran for 2,000 yards this past year. And Lamar's history in the playoffs, I'm sorry.
It's a 2-game sample, though.
Okay, but those 2 games show a lot, and he has not improved. He hasn't gotten any better from his MVP year, bro. And I'm sorry, I got to go with the Titans because also another thing is Ryan Tannehill is their quarterback, and he can actually throw the ball down the field. I'm sorry. This is about which offense is better, and the Titans got a better running game, and they got a better passing game. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, I got to go with the Titans here, man, because both defenses are not going to be able to stop each other. So this is going to be a really tough one, and I got the Titans.
I'm going to go Ravens, and I'm going to go Ravens because I think they've seen the Tennessee Titans. They played them earlier this year. Yes, they lost.
And they lost.
And they played them last year, and they lost. So I think Lamar is coming with fire in his belly. He's coming with revenge. And I think they haven't had healthy players this season because of COVID and injuries. But I think now they've got everybody healthy back, and now they can gather the troops, and now they can play. They're getting Mark Ingram back also, who can run the ball. And I think the Ravens, they're coming with a lot of revenge, and they're coming more hot. And I think they're one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now because they won. I think they won their last 5 games in a row to finish off the season. And I think now they've got an actual sample of the Tennessee Titans and what they're about. To say, can you stop Derrick Henry? That's just impossible. That's not realistic. You can't stop Derrick Henry because he put up 2,000 yards this season when everybody knew the ball was going to Derrick Henry. So I think your game plan can't be.
To be fair, Tannehill is having a good year.
Yeah, Tannehill. Okay, I've got to give Tannehill some credit too. So I don't think the Ravens are gonna go into this game like, how do we stop Derrick Henry? More of like, how do we contain him? How do we make Ryan Tannehill throw the ball more? It don't matter, yo. It all comes down to, can Lamar Jackson make plays and not turn the ball over? And I think he will do a good job of that this Sunday, and he will win the playoff game for the Ravens, and they will advance.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next game, the Chicago Bears versus the New Orleans Saints.
Don't do this, yo, because you smiling, yo. Go ahead, give your prediction first.
I'm going Chicago.
Oh, oh my God, he can't.
I'm going Chicago. Win versus the New Orleans Saints. This is a risky pick, but I'm very confident. Okay, they stunk it up against the Green Bay Packers, granted. But if you watch the last couple of games,
this guy has faith in Mitchell Trubisky.
Which sounds very crazy, but if you watch the last couple of games before the last game of the season against Green Bay, they put up some huge numbers. They played amazing football. They ran the ball well. Mr. Trubisky took care of the ball. He played better offense. Matt Nagy, for the love of God, would you call some actual plays and stop calling dumb plays? How do you throw the ball on 4th and 1? No, you've got an athletic quarterback in Mr. Trubisky, and you've got a running back in Montgomery. I mean, Matt Nagy, I think it comes down to, can Matt Nagy call the right plays? And with the Saints, how healthy is Drew Brees? How healthy are his ribs? And there's one thing we know about the Bears. The Bears have a huge front line. The Bears defense, they can come after the quarterback with Khalil Mack and some other pieces. The secondary is very good. And, you have the Bears defense because the Saints offense, Mike Thomas, how healthy is he? We don't know. Drew Brees, how healthy is he? We don't know. And when you pair the Bears defense versus the Saints offense, I've got to give the Bears defense some advantage. The Saints have a good defense, but
you're ridiculous.
The Bears offense is much more improved than they were starting the season. And I think Mr. Trubisky, it sounds crazy to trust Mr. Trubisky, but I'm going to go with the Bears here, my friend.
Look, I'm going to tell you guys.
I'm going to go with the Bears here.
I'm going to tell you
guys. It sounds crazy I'm trusting Mr. Trubisky, but it's a scary pick, risky one, matter of fact, but I'm going to go Chicago Bears.
Look, I'm just going to say this out of the gate, bro. Y'all forgive this guy, bro.
Hey.
Like, this guy is clearly...
If the Bears win,
Hey, if the Bears win, props to you for calling that.
Absolutely.
But as far as I'm concerned, bro, This guy is off Percocets. he's got to be off the crack. What kind of pipe did you smoke before you got here, yo?
Hey.
Let me tell you something, bro.
Upset coming.
Over the last 6 weeks with Mitchell Trubisky, let me read to you guys the teams that they have played. The Detroit Lions, which they lost to. The Green Bay Packers, which they lost to twice. The Houston Texans, who suck. The Minnesota Vikings, who suck. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, who secured the first overall pick. Bottom line, they suck too. So you're trying to tell me beating the Vikings, the Texans, and the Jaguars, who are going to be picking in the top 10, that's impressive to me to the point that they can beat the best defense in football? I don't even have to make an argument for the Saints. This is the argument. Mitchell Trubisky is playing quarterback for the Chicago Bears. The Saints will win this game, and it won't even be close.
Okay, what have we seen from the Saints the last 2 postseasons?
Are you serious?
The Saints always find a way to choke. The Saints always find a way to choke.
You're forgetting. They lost to the Vikings, who were one of the best defenses
Twice.
in football. One of the best defenses in football at the time. They lost to the Rams, one of the best defenses and offenses in the game.
Okay.
And the Rams went to the Super Bowl that year, if I'm not mistaken. So what are you trying to make? You're acting like
The Bears have one of the best defenses in the NFL too.
Dude, they have Mitchell Trubisky. It's over.
All I'm going to say, if Mitchell
They're
Trubisky
8-8.
comes on, this hate has got to stop.
They literally got lucky to make the playoffs, yo.
Okay, but they're in. And I think they can cause some trouble.
This guy is on
But
Percocets,
anyway,
man.
you
I'm
got
telling
New
you.
Orleans. I've got a risky pick.
You want to put money on that?
Chicago
You want to put
Bears.
money on that, yo?
I'm not gonna put my money on Mitch Trubisky, but come
See,
on.
look at that.
I think Mitch Trubisky can come through. Hey, it comes out to Matt Nagy. I mean, Matt Nagy, come on. Like, the plays this guy calls sometimes, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? They had a crucial play call against the Green Bay Packers last week. Down 1 score, you're 4th and 1 in the Packers territory, and you call a passing play, which was just way off. But I think this game, Matt Nagy's job is. It could be in jeopardy this game, but how bad do they play? Do they win? We're going to see. But I've got the Bears. You've got the Saints. We'll see. And now the last game on Sunday. I think this one a lot of people are looking forward to is the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a Pittsburgh fan, so I automatically know where you're going.
Wait, let me just say something. Let me just say something real quick. The Steelers will win this game. It's not even going to be close. The Browns are the Browns, and nobody cares about the Browns. If the Browns win, that is such a culture change. Like, dude, I don't even want to picture that. I don't even want to picture that because that will be one of the worst moments of my life as a Steelers fan. And that'll probably be the worst moment since, I want to say, Tim Tebow. When he did what he did to us, I don't even want to think about that. It will not happen. We got this So
you don't think it'd be close? Yeah, I mean,
it'll be a close game. It'll be a close game.
I've got the Steelers too, and I think this is also going to be one of those games where it's a lot of dogfight, a lot of pounding because you know
17-14.
Yeah, about 17-14, 20-17-ish. Type of game. Big Ben has his restrictions, can't throw the ball down the field. A lot of 5-yarders, a lot of 7-yarders.
Here we go.
Have no running game. Myles Garrett, he can get after Big Ben. The Cleveland Browns, my question was, they're missing their coach, and I think it's going to hurt them big time because Kevin Stefanski has done an amazing job.
Great play caller.
Great play caller. He's the one that's constantly in Baker Mayfield's here and telling him, calm down, telling him some plays, and Baker's a more mature player than he was
throw them
last
picks
year.
again, yo.
And now, he's in the playoffs for the first time. The Browns in the playoffs for the first time till, I don't know. But, the Steelers are not coming into this game thinking.
I know. 18 years.
The Steelers are not coming into this game thinking, oh, it's the Cleveland Browns. No, the Cleveland Browns are legit, and they're a team that should be respected because I think they've earned a lot of people's respect this season. But
I wasn't even in the first grade the last time the Browns made the playoffs.
But it's going to come down to Baker Mayfield and can he contain the game, and can he not just throw the ball to the other team. But I've got the Steelers too, and I think this game is going to be close. It's not going to be a blowout because, the Browns run the ball and they eat up a lot of clock. So it's not going to be up and down. And the Steelers, it's not like Steelers are bombs away. They're 5 yards, 7 yards. It's a lot of clock eating, a lot of defensive game. The Browns are not as much great defensively as the Steelers, but I think it will be a very close game. But I've got the Steelers winning at the end of the day. So we both got the Bills. You've got the Rams. I've got the Seahawks. You've got the Washington football team. I've got the Bucks. You've got the Titans. I've got the Ravens. That's also a toss-up game.
That's a toss-up.
I've got my scary pick in the Bears, but
That's so
I'm
disgusting.
gonna cross my fingers on Mr. Trubisky here, but you've got the Saints, and we both got the Steelers. But those are the games for the playoff, first round, wild card. Always a fun time, always a fun week. But that's a wrap for us today, guys. A lot of NBA, a lot of NFL. We covered all of it. We'll be back on Monday. Watch out for another episode. We'll be back next time for another episode. We're going to be covering the NFL first round, the wild card, what teams lost, what players look disappointed. We're going to cover a lot more NBA and also the college football national championship. That's also something we're going to talk about.
Yes, sir.
So watch out for the next episode, and we'll be back. Thank you guys for watching.